Chapter 8. Shall we start with the practice or the homework? Practice. And I'm just going to go, because this is a hard one. Look at that. 14 students haven't started that. I'm so ashamed. Preview. Is anybody interested in this one? No. Two. Very good. Down Under Boomerang is considering a new 3-year expansion project that requires an initial asset investment of $2.82 million. The fixed asset will be depreciated straight line to zero over its 3-year tax life, after which time it will be worthless. The project is estimated to generate $2.1 million in annual sales with a cost of $815,000. Project requires an initial investment in net working capital of $340,000, and the fixed asset will have a market value of $230,000 at the end of the project. Okay. This is interesting. It says the fixed asset will be at the end will be worthless, but then at the bottom it says the fixed asset will have a market value of $230,000 at the end of the project. Well, damn! Send me an email when you see crap like this.
I did.
You did? Yesterday. Oh, yesterday. I'm like, can you bring it to class tomorrow? Oh, damn. So, I would say going forward, but there is no forward, right? Yeah. So you start off your question like, I think this question is jacked. And then I'll go ahead and dig into it. Okay. Now, I think if I have to guess, what we're going to do is we're going to assume the $230,000. We're going to assume the $230,000. So let's go with that. So it's a 3-year expansion project. So how many years will we be looking at? Woo! Swing and a miss. 4 because we have times 0. Okay. Now, when I lay these out, the way that I lay them out is we know that times 0 is going to be different than everything else. And we know that the last year is going to be different than everything else. And unless you're told otherwise, all the intervening years are going to be the same. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to write this down so I don't forget. We need operating cash flow. We need to subtract the change in net working capital. And we need to subtract the net capital spending. Why do I write those down first? Because if I start writing years down, then I don't have room to write that stuff down. So I'm going to make 0 up here. This is year 0. By the way, what is the operating cash flow in year 0 always? 0. Yeah, it's 0. So I'm just going to draw a line there because we're not going to have anything there. And then they tell us the change in net working capital at time 0. What is it? $340,000. Now, we are entering here the change, and we're going to subtract it later, so we don't put a negative sign. When you invest in net working capital, that's a cash flow out. You're buying inventory, you're doing all sorts of things that consume cash. Okay, now the net capital spending. What's our net capital spending here?
2.82.
Yep, $2.82 million. $2,820,000. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're trying to get to CFFA. And so for this year, we can already get there. Get your calculator out. 0 minus 340,000. Minus 2.82 million equals. I'm getting minus 3.16 million. Is that what you guys are getting?
Yes.
Okay, minus 3,160,000. Okay, 3-year project. They don't tell us anything weird, so I think years 1 and 2 are going to be the same. So what I want to do is put 1-2 up here. So this is going to be the same for both those years. Now we know there's no change in net working capital because they don't tell us that there is. There's no change in net capital, or there's no net capital spending here. And so the only thing we need for years 1 and 2 is going to be the OCF. Can anyone tell me the formula for OCF? OCF is equal to what?
Is that right?
No.
OCF equals EBIT minus taxes plus depreciation.
Very good. EBIT minus taxes plus depreciation. Now, Ms. Craig, you don't need to feel too bad. He got that directly from his notes. I saw it. Okay. So, what do they give us that's going to allow us to figure this kind of stuff out? Well, they tell us that it's going to generate 2.12 million in annual sales. So we're given sales is equal to 2.12 million. What else do they tell us?
There were costs of 815,000.
Very good. So we're going to put a minus sign over here. Cost is 850,000. Very good. 815. Sorry. 815,000. Okay. Now we got sales minus costs. What else are we needing to depreciate out here? What else are we needing to subtract before we can calculate our taxes?
Depreciation.
Yeah, depreciation. And how do I figure depreciation? Well, they told us that the initial investment is 2.82 million, and how are we depreciating it, Ms. Hofstetter? Straight line to what? 0. And so how am I going to find my annual depreciation? No! Straight line and macros don't mix, right? So let's try this one more time. I thought for sure you had this. Mr. Bone.
Initial investment divided number of years did present.
Yeah. So he's just saying take 2.82 million divided by 3. Does that make sense? Thank you, Mr. Bone. Okay. So let's go ahead and figure our depreciation here. 2,820,000 divided by 3. Luckily, that number is divisible by 3. Do you know how I know it's divisible by 3? If you add the digits up, they are divisible by 3. 2 plus 8 plus 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it should come out even instead of like cents. Hot damn. There you go. See, they used to teach us these neat tricks back in the day when we didn't have calculators.
Is that always true?
Yeah. And if the number is divisible... What's that? Oh shit, sorry. I was doing a victory lap there. Okay, so, yeah, and if the number is divisible by 9, if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9, then the number will also be divisible by 9. Lots of neat little tricks like that. Okay, so now we're going to subtract out our depreciation, and that is $940,000. What are we ready to calculate now?
OCF.
Oh, you're jumping ahead.
EBIT.
EBIT.
Yeah,
EBIT.
taxes.
Now keep in mind, we never worry about interest when we're doing capital budgeting problems, or we don't worry about it as cash flow, right? And so we're just going to take 2.12 million minus 815,000 minus 940,000. Did I say 900?
Yeah. I think you forgot a 0 in your calculation.
Okay, oh, the first time around.
Yeah.
Phew, okay. Thought I was losing it. I may still will be. Okay, now here we go. Clear 2.12 million minus 815,000 minus 940,000 equal. I'm getting 365,000. You guys get that too? Okay. Now, what's the last thing that I need to, oh, by the way, so I've got EBIT. That's right here. I've got that. What do I need?
Taxes.
Taxes. How am I going to figure my taxes?
You multiply that by 1 minus the tax rate.
Ooh, not 1 minus. To figure out the taxes.
Is that this times, right, it's this times factor, right?
Yep, we're just going to multiply this by the tax rate. So, taxes equal 365,000 times 0.24. And so that's going to come out to equal, oh, sorry, times 0.24. Is that what you're getting? 87,600 bucks. Whew. Okay, so now we can figure our OCF because we have 365,000 minus our taxes of 87,600 plus our depreciation of 940,000. Now, who was it that said 1 minus T? You probably were using the tax shield approach, blah, blah, yeah. I'm a top-down kind of guy.
That's fair.
Yeah, so whatever floats your boat.
Okay.
Okay,
This
so,
one must, makes me feel better.
okay, so for most people, an extra step makes them feel better. Little steps, right? Okay. Now, I'm just gonna, I got this number in my calculator already, I'm just gonna put a negative on it, plus 365,000, boom, 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 plus 940,000 equal. I'm getting 1.217400, and I'm pretty confident in that number because you see that the answer for the year 1 and 2 cash flow is that number. Okay, so now I'm going to write that number right here. Where else should I write that number? Yeah, year 3. Okay, now, what is our assumption for what happens to the net working capital at the end of the project? It goes to 0, and how are we going to, if we pump in 340 at the end, at the beginning, what do we have to do at the end?
Add that. Or subtract it out.
that, right? Minus 340,000. And then we've got this net capital spending. And I can already tell you which way they went with this. Let's see, 1.5 million. Yeah, they went ahead and added back the after-tax salvage value. They assumed the 230,000. Ms. Craven, you have their apologies for such a crappy question. So go ahead and scratch out that, after which time it will be worthless. That should not be part of the problem. Okay, let's figure out this after-tax salvage value. After-tax salvage value is equal to, can anyone tell me the formula? Oh, very good. Oh, that's fantastic. Who said that? Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so what's the market value of this thing at the end? 230,000. And the tax rate was 24%, I think. Is that right? Okay, and then I'm going to multiply this by, this is still 230,000. What's the book value at the end? 0. Would the book value be 0 at the end if we were doing a 3 years Macker class for this? No, because there's always that extra year. So the straight line is really actually saving us some work here, right? Okay, so I can go ahead and figure this out. 230,000 minus open parentheses, 0.24 times 230,000. Boom. I'm getting 174,800. Is that what you guys are getting? Okay. Now, if money going out is positive, money coming in should be negative. Okay, so we can finally figure this. Oh, by the way, this one's really easy to do. 1,217,400. This one we're going to go ahead and put. Oh, by the way, minus a minus is a plus. So this is going to be plus, that's going to be plus, we're just going to add it to that. So right now I'm just going to take this number in my calculator, leave it there, plus 340,000 equal plus 1,217,400 equal. So I'm getting 1,732,200. Whew. What do we do next?
Find NPV.
Yeah, we're gonna find the NPV, and what's the next key I should hit after clear? Say again?
CF.
CF. Second. Clear work. What do I put in for CF 0?
Negative 3,160,000.
Yep. And I hit enter. Arrow down. What do I put in for C01?
1,217,400.
Very good. Arrow down. I'm trying to pick on someone here. Ms. Meek. What do I put in for F01? 2. Very good. 2. Enter. Arrow down. What does she put in for C02?
1,732,200.
Yep. 1,732,200. Enter. Okay. What button do I hit next? NPV. And what do they tell us the required return is? 12%. 12. Enter. Arrow down. Compute. I'm getting $130,413.86, which is what they get as well. By the way, if you rounded stuff in the meantime, or if you, I even screwed up on my initial calculation, as you guys showed me. Always leave it in your calculator whenever you can. I should have been storing some of these numbers along the way. Questions? Okay, who was it that asked for that one? Okay, are you satisfied? Oh, you. She just held her hand up.
Oh, I pointed.
You pointed, okay. I should have been able to see that with those enormous nails. Are those real?
No.
No, okay. So does that work for you? Okay, very good. And it was just that one little line that messed you up, right? Oh. No, I'm sorry about that.
So if we were to get a question like this on the exam, would it be like multiple questions?
No.
So
Oh
you just want us
my.
to take a bunch of time?
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to say this again. There are 40 questions on the exam. How many of them are absolutely impossible? Oh, no. Okay, so let's go it the other way. How many of them are just drop dead easy? 10. I'm going to go with around 20. So knock those out first. And then as you go along, the ones that take more and more steps, so start working through the stuff that takes 2 steps. So start with the 1-steppers, then go to the 2-steppers, 3-steppers, 4-steppers, 5-steppers, last, right? Now, here's the trick. If you don't know what you're doing, do you know the difference between a 1-stepper and a 5-stepper? Hell no. But when you get to look at this and you're like, oh wow, they're giving me sales and costs, and I'm just going to have, right? If they just give you the cash flows, that's a whole lot easier than making you calculate them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
On number 20 on the practice, it's just a conceptual one.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Before we do that, is any other one have a question on chapter? Yeah,
For that one, straight line depreciation, why are you dividing by 3?
because it's 3-year life, straight line depreciation to 0. Yep, good question.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Bone.
I want to put in F01 and 2.
Very good. He says why. Ms. Meek did not explain. I didn't ask her to, but she told me we need to do this too. And the answer is because it's the same for years 1 and 2. So that cash flow repeats 2 years in a row. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You don't seem convinced.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so when we're doing CF, let's say that it was a 5-year project, and there in the middle we had years 1 through 4. F01 would have been 4, because that cash flow happens 4 times. The cash flow only happens 2 times here, so that's why it was 2. Good question. Other questions?
You know that because it says depreciated straight line, you know it's one, like for year 1 and 2 it's the same.
Oh, okay. So we knew year 1 and 2 was going to be the same because the operating cash flow was the same. They didn't give us different sales figures for the different years. They didn't tell us that anything changed net working capital in the middle of the project. And they didn't say that anything was going on with net capital spending in the middle of the project. So basically, the middle of the project, it's all the same. Now, she's got a point. If this was Mackers, would this number be the same for years 1 and 2? No. Questions?
So then on the next one, it makes us find IRR.
Uh-huh.
Would we go through the same steps with finding the cash flows and then just put it in the calculator and
Yeah.
do IRR?
In fact, we could find the IRR of this one right
Right.
now. How would we do it? Yeah, just hit IRR. They don't ask for it. We don't know well, we actually do know the correct answer. All we have to do is say IRR compute. There we go, 14.25. By the way, did I know that it was going to be higher than 12%?
Yes.
Yeah, how did I know?
Positive
It's
NPV.
got a positive NPV, and it's got conventional cash flows. That IRR has to be greater than the discount rate, or it's not going to work. Okay, questions? Any other calculation questions before we go to the concepts? 22. Is 22 a calculation or a concept?
It's kind of a, it's like, it has numbers.
Oh, okay. So, this is an equivalent annual cost question. It says the initial life of the machine is $727,000 with the operating costs, annual operating costs of $339,600. Each machine has a life of 5 years. What's going on there? 5 years before it's replaced. Ignore taxes. What's the equivalent annual cost if the required return is 16%? This has a 2-step process. Does anyone remember how we get started on this? What button are we going to hit? CF. Let's get our calculators out. CF, second, clear work. What should I put in for CF0? 727. 000. Enter. Arrow down. What's C01?
727 negative.
Okay, here's the question. Is that negative? This is not an investment project. We're only looking at expenses, right? And so all these numbers have the same sign. And so if we do the negative 727,000 negative, we can. That means we need to make all the other cash flows negative too. But I am 2 things. Number 1, I am lazy. And number 2, I am forgetful. And so I always just work these with all positive signs. But these all represent cash outflows. Good question. Other questions?
So for CF0, positive?
Yeah, we'll make a positive. And then we'll make all the other ones positive too. Because they're all cash outflows. But if we wanted to, for whatever reason, make 727,000 negative, we just make all the other stuff negative too. You'll get exactly the same outcome. Questions? Okay, so C01, what do we put in for that?
39,600.
Yeah, 39,600. Since we made the first one positive, this one's positive too. Enter. Arrow down. What is F01? 5. Now, one thing I want to tell you here is that notice they don't give us a salvage value here. If they gave us a salvage value, what would F01 be? Yeah, it'd be 4 because that last cash flow would be different because it would be whatever that is, well, plus the money coming back, or minus actually, minus the money coming back in from selling the machine. Okay, so I think we are ready to go. What are we going to do next? NPV. And what do I put in for I? 16. Enter. What do I do next? Arrow down. What do I do? Compute. I'm getting 856,662, and it's the same number they're getting, so we're good to go. That is the sum of the present value of all the costs for the project over its entire life. So, what I'm going to do, just in case everything goes horribly wrong, I'm going to hit store 1, just to have that number. And then I'm going to hit clear twice. What do I do next? Oh, what if there's other junk in our time value money keys? You got to go second, clear TVM. Now, Ms. Craven, what do we do? Negative PV, very good. What should I put in for N? 5. What do I put in for I per Y? 16. Enter. And then what do I compute? The payment. And so that's the equivalent annual cost. So 2 steps. In the first step, I take all the costs of the project and I scrunch it into a single value at time 0. That's the sum of the present values of all the costs. And then I use my TVN keys to blow that thing back out to where it's an annuity with the same number of years life as the machine. And of course, the time 0 cash flow is 0 because annuities, the cash flows happen at the end of the period if they're ordinary annuities, which this is. That's how we do that. And then the payment, of course, is the equivalent annual cost. Now let's talk about making some decisions here. If you were looking at replacing an old machine and the cost to hold on to it for 1 more year is $250,000, do you replace the machine? No, because it is less than the equivalent annual cost of the new machine. But next year, it's going to be $50,000 more. So you're going to have to spend $300,000 to hold on to it between times 1 and 2. What do? You replace the machine at that point. Does that make sense? Okay. Good example. Other examples, other questions you have?
I have a question.
Okay.
So we don't put anything into the future value key?
No. This thing, so here's what we're doing. We're taking all these costs and we're scrunching them into present value. All the value of that thing right now is sitting there at time 0. There's no future value, right? Questions?
What number was this one again?
22. 22. There you go. Yes?
What was the next step after we compute NPV? What was the next
Then, second, so I stored it just in case everything went horribly wrong. Store 1. And then I second clear TVM to clear out your time value of money keys. And now, Ms. Craven tells us that we need to put in, have you got, let me see what's on your screen. Yeah. Hit your negative. Oh, so did you do the second clear TVM? There.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to make that our present value. So go ahead and put a negative on it. And then hit PV. Now, what is the number of years for this project? Yep. So what are you going to do with that number? Yep. 5N. And what are you going to put in for I per Y? 16. And what are you going to compute? Did you get it? Oh, hell. How in the world did you do that? Yeah. Second, clear TBM, present value 5N, 16 I per Y, compute payment. Oh, wow. I get the distinct impression your calculator is jacked. Let me try this one more time. Boom. Oh, let's see, CF. CF, second, clear work. 727,000 is our first year, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, enter. What's C01? 39,600. Enter. What's F01? 5. Enter. NPV 16. Enter. Arrow down. Compute. So it's getting the NPV correct.
Yeah, I have that.
And I'm going to hit second, clear TBM, negative, PV, 5N, 16 I per Y, compute payment. Yeah, your calculator's jacked. Yeah.
I do have to do the ritual.
Yeah, you need to do the purge, right? I should start calling it the purge.
This one.
Oh, hey, I admire this woman. I used to work in nuclear power. Do you think we had more than one of everything? Oh, heck yeah. 1, 2, 3, boom. 39,600. Enter, arrow down. 5, enter, NPV. 16, enter, arrow down, compute. And then we're going to say store 1, just in case everything goes horribly wrong. Second, clear TBM, negative, PV. 5N, 16 I per Y, compute payment. So,
I will use this one.
yep, there you go, folks. If you're playing along at home and you're getting the wrong answers on your calculator, first step is to do the purification ritual, aka the purge. And if it's still not working, then on the back there's this little tiny silver button, and you can get like a paper clip and straighten it out and hold that sucker down. And if it still doesn't work, then you can get a little bit of screwdriver and take out all the screws and click that battery out. Maybe it just needs a new battery. Everybody needs a little love now and then, right? And so go ahead and put it back together. If it still doesn't work, what do? Walmart, bookstore. Do you order it from Amazon? No, you get your hands on one physically. Or you borrow one from a friend that's in the online class, right? Because they're probably not going to be taking the exam at the same time as you. So there you go.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked. Other questions?